Are you looking for the magic to make your life truly count? Do you want the secret formula to make every day your best day yet? Hello, and welcome to the Finishing on Fire radio show. And now, here are your show hosts, Dave Wadsworth and Greg Vance.
We're going to talk about living with no regrets. And that's hard to do, but if you can minimize those, that's important. Now, we're talking about our book here. It's called Finishing on Fire. You can find it on Amazon. I've had plenty of regrets, not a ton of big stuff. What about you? Have you had some regrets that you can remember that kind of sting or stick in your mind?
Yeah, I think there's probably enough of them. Nothing, frankly, none of them were tragic, but yeah, so that's good news. But they're still regrettable, things that you thought. Now, if as they say, if you could tell your younger self, give yourself some advice, yeah, you would probably bypass many of those things, if not all of them.
Yeah, I just saw a quote the other day. I don't know where it was at, maybe on TikTok or something, or maybe it might have been YouTube. I'm consuming so much information all the time. I tell you, my brain gets scrambled. And of course, I'm down to 3 brain cells. And so I'm working them pretty hard. But I remember this quote, this young boy asked Warren Buffett. He said, Mr. Buffett, he said, if there's one thing that you could buy, what would it be? And he said, well, young man, how old are you? And he said, well, I'm 14 years old. He said, here's what I would buy. I would take all my money I have right now, and I would give that if I could become you right now, 14 years old, with the knowledge that I've got now. I would like to go back to you and have your body and have your opportunity to go forward. I thought that was pretty interesting that that's what he would do with all his money, because I'm sure, even though he's one of the few richest guys in the world, I mean, he's in the top 3 or 4 now, and he has been number 1, but he's got regrets. Sure. He's got things that he has done. And if he could go back, I'm sure he would do the same thing. He'd go back, like you said, Greg, and just say, oh, that was regrettable. I want to tell myself, don't do that again, So, and that brings me to a quote. We're talking about this book, and in chapter 4, we talk about living. Actually, the title of the chapter is kind of weird. It's 1891. 1891 is larger than 18.5. And you look at that and you're thinking, this guy's weird. And it's true. But here's the point. If you look at this, I measured my windshield on my big truck, and then I measured my rear view mirror. And what I'm talking about is living our life looking out the windshield. But occasionally we need to look through the rear view mirror and see where we screwed up, so we do a better job as we move forward. Yep. But we need to spend the vast majority of our time living life looking forward. Okay. But these regrets, we need to be reminded and look back and say, yeah, that didn't work so well, did it? So this is a quote I've got, actually a couple of quotes here from chapter 4. And I used to tell the kids this when I taught. I had a class. It was actually a high school class that I taught. We'd had up to 100 students, 100 kids in a class. And so I probably screwed them all up. But but one of my quotes, and this is one of the things I used to say to them, and this is in the book on page 51. It says, you must learn from other people's mistakes, because you will never live long enough to make them all yourself. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you, you've got to do it. You've got to learn from everybody else's mistakes, because you just won't live long enough to screw up everything. You just won't. And you don't have to go through life and make every mistake to learn. You have to look at what other people do and say, wow, that's not a good idea. So that brings me to my second quote, which is right here in the book with that. And this is one of my all-time favorite people in life. The magnificent Abraham Lincoln was quoted as saying, I can learn something from nearly every person I meet.
Mm.
However, it is usually what not to do.
Yes, that's so true.
You just have to look around and say, yeah, I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think I want to go through that mess. And
Mhm, mhm.
oh my gosh, I think those are both good quotes, but of course, the one is by me and the other one's by Abraham Lincoln. So I think Abe Lincoln wins.
Well,
I, I'll tell you a funny story. I've read a lot about Abraham Lincoln, and there's a keen interest I have when I do public speaking, Greg. Sometimes I'll use these life-size cardboard cutouts.
yes, I've seen
I'll
them.
have them up on stage with me, and one of them is Abraham Lincoln, and I quote, Abe Lincoln and stuff, and I talk about him. I have Albert Einstein, George Washington Carver, Abraham Lincoln, and Superman. Oh, you were with me that one time on our cruise with Dan Miller and Joanne Miller. Remember?
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, that was awesome. And I had those guys with me there. I was one of the speakers for our group, and that was so fun. That was really fun. And I remember that. But Abraham Lincoln, there's a lot of connections that I have with him or my family. Actually, my grandfather, his family, they grew up where Abraham Lincoln was born in Kentucky, south of Louisville, a little ways, a little town called Hodgenville, Kentucky.
Okay.
Is where he was actually from originally. And then when he was a young boy, I think he was 7, maybe 6 or 7. The family then moved over here to southern Indiana, to Gentryville. It wasn't Gentryville at the time. It became that, but it's just a few miles from where I live now. And actually, they talk about in a lot of his books the little Pigeon Creek.
Mhm.
And I've played there at Pigeon Creek. I've fished there. I've walked miles of the bank in Pigeon Creek, and and that's where Abe Lincoln was a young boy for probably 11 years, 12 years, until he was, I think, about 19 or 20. Then they moved on over to Illinois,
Right.
and so forth. But so where he was born and originally raised early on was a town where my family was from. Okay, Hodgenville, Kentucky. And then he moved over here where I live and have lived for many, many years, which is really wild and stuff. So we're kind of connected that way. But something I mentioned, I think on a previous podcast, I'm sure I did, I gave a book, this Finishing on Fire book, to a gentleman at the local Cracker Barrel restaurant. We had, I go in there and I see some people that are regulars, and I go in and I sit and I read some, I study, I actually write a lot. I'll go in there and I get ideas, and I watch people coming and going and different things, but I get ideas and I start writing, and I just make notes and so forth. Well, one gentleman was there, older gentleman, and I saw him in there, and I always talked to him, and he was always friendly, and I thought, I like this guy. So one day I signed a book. I found out what his name was, and I signed a book. I put Bob, to Bob, and I said, I appreciate your attitude. You're a real friendly guy, and all this. Well, he was really shocked. He's like, wow, thank you very much. And of course, a few weeks later, I saw him and he said, oh, I'm reading your book. I love your book. I can't hardly put it down. And I thought, man, you're sick. What's the matter? You're desperate for entertainment. Now, a nice, super nice guy. Well, then probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks later, was the day I was going up to my mom for her birthday, the 86th birthday, and Bob comes over to my table. He said, "Hey, how you doing?" Stuff and all this. Got to talking. Did not realize this, but his great great granddad was best friends with Abraham Lincoln.
Wow.
I'm like, no way. Yeah, and and if you read anything about Abe Lincoln as a young boy, him and his best buddy is Allen Gentry. They I don't know if they made the boat or they just or they got a boat. I think they may have made it, but anyway, they went down the Ohio River, which is real close here to me. They went down the Ohio, down the Mississippi to New Orleans, and they took a bunch of grain and I think maybe some livestock, but they went down to New Orleans and sold all this stuff, and then they did this for Allen Gentry's dad. He hired him to do it. That they went down there, and that's when Abe Lincoln saw his first slave auction, and he saw in New Orleans, he saw black folks being chained together and then being mistreated. Obviously, I mean, whipped and is nasty, and it cut him to the heart. It really hurt him, and then he said right then, you know, when I have the power and the opportunity to hit this thing, I'm going to hit it with all my might. And that's what he did as president. You know, he fought slavery, and of course he
Yes.
signed the Emancipation Proclamation and freed the slaves. And but I was sitting there having breakfast, and Bob sat down there with me, and he was a great grandson of Abe Lincoln's best buddy, you know, as a
Wow.
young boy here. And that's just so amazing, you know, the history and stuff. And it was just pretty cool. So anyway, so I like to quote Lincoln, and just, you know, we are so close to people. I don't know, we're connected in such a way. And nowadays, you know, with internet and with all this stuff, we're really connected. But to meet somebody like that, you know, being a part of history, is pretty cool. That's just, you know, really cool. And those people are around us all the time. You know, we just don't realize it.
Yeah, you know, realize their stories.
Yeah, they've got stories. Everybody has stories. So anyway,
That's for
so I'm gonna
sure.
pass that along to you. So yeah.
You know what I really like about those two quotes, and they you know, they tie together real well, is they remind me of learning from others in a positive way. And I know that you and I both have in common the fact that we weren't very good readers whatsoever up until just a few years ago. And so I know that you listen to audiobooks, I read physical books, and we both listen to a lot of podcasts. But I think the common thread through all those is we learn and we gain wisdom from understanding what other people have been through, what they've experimented with. And I'm talking business terms or something like that, but what they've experimented with, what works, what doesn't work. And oh my gosh, as they said, you know, you can't live long enough to make all the mistakes that somebody else is going to make. And so how fortunate you are to learn from all these other people around you through the miracle of books and the internet, podcasts, and things like that. So I think it's just a real gift.
Yeah, I agree. And I appreciate you bringing that up, because something I've done here recently, Greg, you know, I've got connected with TikTok, and at first I really, you know, kind of avoided it. But I have a buddy I'd mentioned earlier. Well, in our last podcast, I talked about this Travis Burkhart Foundation, and this gentleman, buddy of mine, who was a farmer, and he just told the story and stuff. And I was talking to him. He says, Dave, he said, you're so positive, you're so encouraging. You need to get involved in TikTok. You need to get, you know, put out these videos. And of course, I'm doing videos all the time. I don't know what I'm going to do with them exactly, but I've been pursuing this. And I thought, well, maybe this TikTok thing would work. So I talked to him a little bit about it. And he said, yeah, he said, we've got 40,000 followers on TikTok. And I'm like, no way. 40,000. And he's just been actually on it. He'd been on it a while learning, but he started doing it and that was like in 5 months. It was like, November, December, January, February, and part of October maybe. And so maybe 5 months. Okay. And I'm thinking, wow, that's a lot of people that actually have, and the downloads is a lot more than that, but that's actually followers that have clicked on and like his story. And he tells about his story, but that's what I want to do. I want to help people. And what our whole show is about is encouraging people to learn and to grow and to not make those stupid mistakes that we have.
Right.
If we can help people do that and live basically without the regrets. And this is where you want to grab these young people and shake them and say, hey, don't be that stupid.
Don't be as stupid as I was. Yeah.
Right. You know, and it's because we love them. It's kind of like, you know, telling your children, you know, don't put your hands on the hot stove, you know, because you're going to burn your hands. And
right.
And it's not because, you know, we don't want you to have fun and be able to climb stuff. You know, you know how kids are, they're monkeys. But we don't want you hurt. And if we can avoid that for you or help you steer you away from that, it's because we love you. And that's what the show is about. We want to help you not fall in those potholes that we have and then look back and say, wow, that was not a good idea. So just trying to help you live basically regret free, as much as possible. It's not going to be, for sure. But one of the quotes here I have, and I really think this is a key to this episode and really about what the book is about. I want to read this. This is still in chapter 4, page 54. If you want to live without regrets, if you want to live every day and make it your best day, here's what you do. Okay. You need to underline this. You need to bold type it. You need to stop the recording and write this down. Okay. I do that all the time when I'm reading books. I write down the quotes. Here it is. Focus on and enjoy your life today. Focus on and enjoy the people right in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
Focus on and enjoy the actions you are doing right now.
Mm.
And Greg, basically what I'm saying is, don't be looking in the rearview mirror at yesterday. Don't be looking to tomorrow and the next day and next week and next month, but really focus on today and focus on the people you're with, focus on what you're doing, focus on your life, and don't just dream it away. Don't be thinking about what you're going to be doing. Whoever you're with, be with them. If it's your wife, if it's your child,
Yes.
if it's a good friend, focus on them. And we see people, and when you're in a crowd, you're talking to somebody, sometimes they're looking around or looking over your shoulder thinking, okay, who do I need to talk to? They're kind of dismissed, and they're not focused on you. And you're like, wow, I'm feeling very unimportant right now. Now I have done this before where I've been talking to somebody and I'll look and I'll say, now, hey, I'm looking for a certain person. So if from time to time, I take my eyes off of you and I'm looking, I said, nothing against you. I try to explain, hey, I'm going to be rude here, but I'm telling you up front. So,
Right.
But I love this quote. This is it. This is a key point. Focus on and enjoy your life today. Okay. It's both. Focus on and enjoy. Find the joy in it. Okay. Focus on and enjoy the people right in front of you, and focus on and enjoy the actions you are doing right now, whether it's your job or just basic chores around home you're trying to do, but enjoy them. Find the joy in what you're doing, and don't make it, drudgery. It doesn't have to be. Okay. So I just really, I wanted to bring that out.
Yeah, no, I really like that. There's certain, and I've talked about this, I think, is there's certain personality types, and, the person listening to us today may be one of those. And that I unfortunately have this gift and this curse of, if you take the Gallup Strengths Finder 2.0 assessment, one of mine is called is futurist. And so what that means is I'm constantly thinking about
like you're a Star Trek person.
Yeah, no, not that. I'm just constantly thinking about what's coming next. And so that can be a real gift at times. The bad news is it makes me think beyond where I'm at almost constantly, unless I can control myself and bring that into where I'm at today. And it's not been that many years that I've really come to terms with that and really tried to slug my way through it on a daily basis. But since I have, it's really made a difference. So it just would be an encouragement to anybody that may be dealing with that too.
See, that's a good point, Greg, because what you've done, you've analyzed and you realized, okay, that's a fault. Or, well, you said, a curse and a blessing. Okay. But just being aware of that and saying, oh, wait a minute, I'm constantly dismissing today by looking down the road too much. Okay. I need to back up a little bit. And so you need to have a healthy balance of the two.
Right.
We're not saying, don't look down the road, don't plan, don't set these goals and all that stuff. Cause you've got a great coaching business where you as a professional, you coach people in their careers
Mhm.
and finding their purpose and finding their niche and where they belong. And you're really good at that. You've done that a long time. You got a lot of good experience. Career meets purpose, I think is you name your company, but
Yes.
you help people see the potential of down the road, to look down the road and make those goals, but you also probably help them assess where they're at today
Right.
and what they need to do based on where they're at today, and how to move forward. So yeah, you provide a great service by having that mindset or that mental ability, or that, I don't know what they call it, the strength. I guess it's just a strength,
Strength. Right.
uh, yeah.
Yeah. The challenge is finding that switch to switch it on and off and all that. But you're right. Thanks for bringing up the coaching business. I do, when I work with a lot of people that have gone through, we'll say, an unexpected job change, meaning that they may have been dismissed from their position for whatever reason. The company's at fault, they're at fault, both are at fault. Usually it just like in a marriage, it takes two people to create a situation that can be a little challenging. Same way with an employer and an employee. Sometimes it's just money for the employer, of course. But anyway, I do find a lot of people, to your illustration of the rear view mirror, that are spending all their time focused on why this happened to them. And that can be healthy for a few moments to analyze and to learn from it, grow from it, and then move forward. But oftentimes it can take a lot of diligence, a lot of work, a lot of discussion to get people to move beyond that, because they get stuck right there and they really don't live their life. To your point, of this chapter of the book, they're stuck in not looking forward.
Yeah, and that's a good point. They probably don't realize it, that they are
Right.
looking in the rearview mirror so much. And those numbers in the book in chapter 4, it talks about those numbers, 1,850 something versus 18.5. Well, that's the actual square inches of
Yes.
windshield you have versus square inches of your rearview mirror. And basically any vehicle you're in, and I've driven so many different vehicles, you have a rear view mirror, but it's so small. And I think you need to think in those terms. Well, there's a reason why it's small, because you don't need to spend much time looking through it. You need to spend the vast majority looking through the windshield down the road, because that's very unsafe and unhealthy to be looking in the rear view mirror. And I explain some of that in this book. I talk about that, how that is
Right.
just, it's not good to be living your life in the past or looking at the past. And so I appreciate you talking about that. And so,
You,
but
you kn-
I,
what strikes me about those numbers you just mentioned is, if you do quick math on those, that rear view mirror is 100 times smaller than your vision forward, or do the reverse of that. The forward vision is 100 times larger than the rear vision. And so you just think about that for a minute, that positioning those two things against one another, and what a significant difference it can be by changing your perspective.
yeah. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. 100 to 1. So basically you need to spend, 100 times looking forward at the opportunities and potential to every one time you look back, or glance back. So
You
yeah,
could, you-
that's a good point. I like that. Yeah.
by the way, that's not a driving tip. But you're right. You could think of that, but at least what I was thinking, it was the power of the vision. It's 100x
Oh yeah. Oh, that's a
versus
good point.
the one. Yeah, 100x. So
That's a good point. Yeah.
yeah,
100x. Yeah. And and I guess if you think about it, it's like, okay, you want to have the greatest impact.
hmm
You want to live your life the best you can. Well, you want to live on the side of the 100 times, the
yeah,
100, the power of the 100 versus the one.
right.
Yeah, that's good, man. See, you're way over my head on some of this stuff. I got to be careful here.
Yeah, I don't know about that. So you ready
Okay,
to you ready to go on to your special feature today and take us into Wazi's world?
And now it's time for Wadsey's World. Yes, Dave Wadsworth's true life animal stories.
oh, Wadsy's World. I love Wadsy's World. I have so many stories. Yeah, you gotta, you pick a number for me.
Yep.
I have these animals listed 1 to 43, at least 43. There may be a few more now. And so the number today, and you picked a number, but I haven't looked. Okay.
Yeah. So to fill in a little bit, in case you're a new listener or something like that, Dave has these magical encounters with animals of all kinds that I can't explain. I'm not sure he can either, but he has he's done a quick list before we started our podcast series, and I think came up with 43. But for today, I picked number 31, and so he's going to give us a little off the cuff remembrance of whatever animal number 31 is. Tell us what that is.
Okay. Number 31 is squirrels.
Oh my gosh. This could be anything.
I tell you what, I've had so many encounters with squirrels. Oh my gosh, since I was a little kid. I remember one time, squirrels are actually very aggressive rodents. I mean, they're gnawing, chewing all the time, and they're tough. They're tough little boogers. I'm gonna tell you a quick story, and you're gonna love this. We would go camping when we were little kids, young kids. We grew up at Kentucky Lake, and we water skied, and we'd camp in these little tents and stuff, and we had a good old time. And of course, in a campground, if you ever do any camping, there's always animals. And one of the animals we would see a lot would be skunks. And the skunks would come out at night, and they would just ramble around. It was amazing. Usually not during the day. They're more nocturnal. Now the squirrels, those rascals, they would get you in the daytime. They weren't afraid. And so I remember my mom, we would try to, keep our food, locked up and locked away. So,
Sure.
The animals wouldn't get it. And a lot of times you have to put it, if you're in a tent, they can tear into your tent. So you kind of got to be careful. And some people, hang food up, if it's like bears and stuff, but we didn't have any bears down there, but we had squirrels, and those rascals, they were smart. Well, my mom, we had a loaf of bread. I remember this. We had a loaf of bread sitting on the table, and we had to go somewhere. We were going to go do some activity at, there at the campground. And so we weren't going to be gone maybe an hour. But my mom, she thought, oh, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll keep those squirrels out. She had a leather jacket, and it wasn't fancy, but it was nice, and it was heavy. It was a heavy leather jacket. I remember it was white. And so she throws that leather jacket over the top of the bread, kind of tucks it in around there, around that loaf of bread. Well, we were gone about an hour. And believe it or not, the squirrels chewed a hole through that leather jacket.
Oh.
They chewed and ripped and tore through leather to get to that bread. And then they could reach in and they pulled out, chunks and stuff. It was amazing. My mom, I bet she cried for 2 days over that jacket. It was awful. She's like, I can't believe it. Of course, my dad, you know how dad is, he's like, well, Loretta, you should have known better than that. It's like, how guys are. We don't have that much compassion. It's like, you should have known, but, pouring a little salt in the wounds. But boy, it just ruined her jacket. It was so nice. And we didn't have a lot of fancy stuff growing up, but that was a nice jacket. And they just, oh my gosh, the power of a squirrel is crazy. So that's my one squirrel story for you today. So
another one of those sacrifices that moms make, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Yeah. She cried over that thing. Oh my gosh. That hurt.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, they're little devils for sure.
Oh, they can be. Oh my gosh.
So I think you got I think we're about all ready to hit our 2 minute warning here, but I know you've got a quote to take us in there first.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I tell you what, I'm glad you keep me on track. Sometimes you got to remind me to tell you if we come up with squirrel again, I'll have to tell you about our license plates. Okay. Because see, my daughter is she's like me. Okay, she's got ADD. I mean, she's all over the place, like squirrel,
Yeah.
rabbit. Oh, I mean, we're squirrely. We're squirrely. So we'll have to tell you about our squirrely license plates.
Okay. We'll keep.
That's for another time. So if you pick 31 again, you're probably going to get that story. Oh my gosh. So here's a quote. I love this quote. And I wrote it in my book here, Finishing on Fire. It's on page 80. And this is a gift that we have for you as a listener that so valuable. And if you can just remember this, I think it'll be huge. But here it is. It's called "The Gift of Life is right in front of you. The gift of life is today, the present." So here's my key quote. My gift to you, your present, or your gift, your present is to be present in the present. To be present in the present. Not being Star Trek-y futuristic, Greg.
Yep.
So be present in the present. And so many times we just are not present. We're absent. We're just daydreaming, or we're somewhere else, and we should be interacting with our wife, with our children, with the people we're with. Be present. That is so critical. That will change your life if you'll be present in the present. That's a game changer for you.
That's awesome.
So that's really, I think, Greg, that's really what we want to say about the 2-minute warning. We like to go out every episode and basically say, give you a challenge or a call to action. And that's really going to be our call to action, unless you have something different you want to add. Are you good?
No, I think I don't want to interrupt your flow. You're going right into the 2-minute warning. So let's do it.
And now it's time for the 2-minute warning.
Let's do it. Okay, so the 2-minute warning. Okay, and this is what if you want to change your life. Okay, here's what you need to do immediately. I mean, you can do this right now. Don't wait till tomorrow. Okay, start doing this, and you have to. A lot of you will have to think about this. You'll have to really catch yourself because you're not there. But here's the 2-minute warning. Immediately live in the present. Use your gift to live your best life in the present. If you'll do that, it will wake you up to a world that you've just kind of let go by. You've kind of been in neutral or idle, and you've just kind of drifted. But to kind of wake up and to be present and do that immediately. Just start doing that with your spouse. When she's talking to you, focus on her and see what she really means. Because I guarantee you, she's saying things because she loves you and she wants to share with you. Okay. It may not be what she's saying, but it's what she's feeling, and she's trying to transfer that energy to you. And so you need to listen. Okay. Your children. Okay. When your children are talking to you, sometimes you're like, oh my gosh, get on with it. Tell it, spill it.
Yep.
And we kind of just like, we're impatient. But if you'll be in the present with that young person, that child, that your spouse, listen, it will enhance your life. And so that's your challenge. That's what I'm going to challenge you today, is to be present and to focus on that. And I guarantee you do that for a day, you're going to say, wow, I've been missing out. And you really have. So that's your challenge. Be present for you.
Thank you for listening to the Finishing on Fire radio show. Be sure to visit finishingonfire.com for more great content. Go light your world.